If you carry a firearm, do you think about your children in the use of your firearm and how you'll defend your family if the need arises? I sure hope you do. Hey everyone, it's John with today's active self-protection lesson. This one comes to us out of Brazil. It shows us crystal clear an off-duty police officer getting gas with his little girl who is robbed by an armed robber, and a gunfight breaks out. And Aspers, I really want you to pay attention to this one for a couple reasons. Number one, because your children, especially young children, need to have a plan if things go down, and you need to work on that plan with your children. Number two, it shows us the importance of movement and marksmanship. And number three, that you don't get to choose, especially in transitional spaces, when the fight starts, and you have to be ready in the moment to protect yourself and your family. As this one begins, we see the armed robber is here walking towards the guy with his daughter at the pump, and there is an employee right behind the pump who is pumping. And we can't, of course, be sure of what was said. We don't have any audio here, but we're going to see in a moment that at this point here, the bad guy pulls a gun and threatens with it. And so this off-duty officer then pulls his own gun and gets away and fires some shots. But if you notice, he fired him right over the head of his 5-year-old little girl there and put her right between himself and the bad guy in the line of fire, drives him off, gets away from him, gets some good movement there. So we go over here to another angle and we see what happens as this fight gets started, and the bad guy now is going to point that gun and he's going to take a shot, and our good guy is going to come around here on the left side of the screen and assess what's going on, and our bad guy is going to fall there, about 15 or 20 yards away, and he is not going to make it as our victim or intended victim here, who's an off-duty cop here in Brazil. So let's think about some of the issues that we face here in this particular one. And number one, first and foremost, I got to tell you, if I'm out, I do not let people get between me and my small children. I do not allow people to walk through like this, and I really recommend that you not allow somebody between you and your child. Wouldn't expect this to end in a gunfight here, but still, I just wouldn't allow that. It's just my policy. Number two, I do want to think about this idea that he's about to go for his gun. He knows something bad is happening here. This is a great opportunity that if you've got to push your child away, you have to do so, but you've got to think about your children and their safety in these kinds of environments as well. I know we're trained to move and we're going to see him do that, but you have to think about your child. He puts her right in the line of fire, and Asper's under stress. If you haven't thought about this, if you haven't done any kind of training with this, you probably will do something not completely dissimilar. And so he takes a shot. Thankfully, he does not hit his little girl, and that's a very good thing. It would have been better off to push her one way and go the other. And now he gets completely away from her. But I do also want to see and want to say that if you go and you read the original on this, that first guy that falls there to the left, that first man that falls there is an employee. And so this off-duty officer actually shoots that guy, and it's said in the story link there that he is shot in this and he's going to recover. Remember, you are responsible for every bullet that leaves your gun, and shooting a bystander is not okay. Finally, here we see that the bad guy shot at least once, gets about 20-25 yards away, and looks like he gets a couple of shots off in the process. Make sure that you shoot until the threat stops and that you put your shots on target, because marksmanship matters, everyone. Aspers, please hear me. You need to include your children in your defensive plan. I would strongly suggest, even among young children, that you give them an emergency word, that if they hear that emergency word, the word that my family uses is emergency, that your children know to get down and to get away from you and to find cover or concealment if they possibly can. Or you also need to teach your children, even without that if they see a firearm, if they see especially your firearm, that they need to get down and they need to get away from you because problems are coming. Number two, movement, very, very important. And I just want you to think about, Aspers, please put yourself between your children and danger. Don't put your children between you and danger. You got to train that so that you don't do it in the moment. Number three, of course, movement and fire. You got to be able to put shots on target. This officer did, and he protected himself and ultimately his little girl. Her hearing, she might have had some ringing in her ears, but I think she would be okay. These are important lessons for all of us with children to think about as we cover our ASP.